Thank you. At this time, Raj will come up to introduce our speaker, Dr. William Kirkwood.
We're delighted to have Bill Kirkwood with us. Just a very brief background. He has given services at Holston Valley Unitarian Universalist Church for at least 20 years, maybe 25, and once or twice a year. And most of the members try very, very hard not to miss when he's speaking at the church. Besides that, he was a professor of communications at East Tennessee State University, and for many years, and then they finally figured out they needed to bump him upstairs. And so he's in administration, and one of the focus areas in administration for him is quality of teaching. Is that correct? Yes. And but he's also leads a meditation group in the area in Elizabethton and Johnson City. And when the First Presbyterian Church in Elizabethton was between ministers, he served as an interim minister at the church for a year or two. So with that in mind, Bill Kirkwood.
Well, it's good to be here with you this morning. My wife is usually saying, quiet down, quiet down. But I'll try standing within the zone in which you can hear me from the mic. It's wonderful to be with you. What a wonderful feeling you have here, and what a great group to see you filling up this lovely space together on a beautiful Sunday morning. So it's a pleasure being with you. I'm here this morning to talk about love. Seems like a good thing to talk about on a Sunday morning. My purpose, purely and simply, is to remind you of everything you already knew about love. Well, not everything, but some of the high points, and to basically give you a pep talk. Because here's the thing. As Jesus said, it's easy to love people who love you. It is not so easy to love people who you're not that crazy about at the moment, who are not that crazy about you. And then again, G.K. Chesterton, a wonderful British writer, said years ago, the two great commandments of Christianity are to love thy enemy and to love thy neighbor, perhaps because it's often the same people. So when we say, love, it's a nice thing to get a warm feeling about in our heart. It's a wonderful thing to think about in terms of the world. When it comes to our experience with the people who we share life with, whether it's coworkers or moms or dads or siblings or children or spouses or partners or whoever it might be, we all know that love, day in, day out, has its ups and downs, doesn't it? It takes a lot of energy. I mean, thank heavens that, evolution made babies with, chubby cheeks and pudgy noses so that we just naturally think they're cute as a button because they're an awful lot of work, aren't they? And they're, of course, totally demanding and completely self-centered, but doggone it, they're so cute. So Mother Nature knew what she was doing with those chubby cheeks and pudgy noses. And thank heavens that in terms of romantic love, so it's a good thing that every now and then you meet someone in your life who you think, she's kind of cute, he's kind of cute, in a different kind of way, cute perhaps from a baby. It's a good thing because love takes a lot of energy and we need some attraction because honestly, it's just too much work in many ways to love someone if we didn't find them kind of cute or kind of attractive or kind of sexy or something like that. So today when I talk about a pep talk on love, I'm talking about loving people in your life. Here's what we are definitely not going to talk about. We are not going to talk about the Unitarian, Universalist, Presbyterian notion of loving everyone, because that, of course, is easy. It is easy to love everyone. We're going to talk about loving individual people, people in your life. That's where the challenge lies. That's where the joy lies. We could be talking about how to be loved, because everybody in this room, we will not have a show of hands. Everybody in this room wants to be loved. I think it is a universal desire to want to be loved. That's one of the things that our Buddhist friends say to us. and remind us is that when we think of wishing others well, one of the things we can remember is that whatever people believe, whatever it is they're doing, and some of the things we human beings do are truly despicable, every human being wants to be happy. Every human being wants to be loved. Some of us go about it in the right way. Some of us go about it in terribly, terribly wrong ways. But deep inside, what we most long for, we all long for. So we long to be loved, but here's the thing, that's not entirely within our control. We can, however, love. We can give others that which we so dearly seek ourselves. And so that's what I thought we would talk about for a little bit. And as I said, this is just a pep talk. So if you like having discussion and pointed questions, there may be nothing much to talk about here because I don't think I'm going to say anything that will come as the slightest bit of a surprise. Maybe that's okay, though, because Plato, the great Greek philosopher, said that all learning is really remembering. So maybe that'll let me off the hook a little bit. All we're going to do is remember what you already know and sort of charge ourselves up to keep doing that thing called loving each other. And again, by love, we don't mean just romantic love. It can be any kind of love, any kind of relationship. The love includes feelings, like the beautiful song we heard, a feeling of love in my heart. Love includes attitudes. I was quickly scanning over here the work you've been doing on your mission and vision statement. And if I were going to find one word for a lot of the green dot items, it would be something like acceptance. We want to be accepted for who we are. We want to be able to feel that we fit in as we are. As we are. And so it has to do with attitudes of acceptance. Love also has to do with actions. And that's the one I thought we would spend more time on today, is actions. What do we do to love someone? Now, the first two are important. Feelings are important. When we love people, it generally means that in some sense we are attracted to them. Now, this doesn't have to be romantic or sexual or any of those kinds of attraction. It can just be attraction like, gee, I like her. As a friend, or liking the way someone is. There's a wonderful Japanese poem, very, very short, about 3 lines. It says, the image of the real man standing before us, just a glimpse of him, and we are in love. We'll redo it. The image of the real woman standing before us, just a glimpse of her, and we are in love. And so there are people that we encounter, we say, whether with words or not, wow, that's a human being. That's a person. So it's easy to love those kinds of people. And again, it's a good thing that we're attracted to some people at least because we need some of that energy. But what happens when we're not feeling attracted to someone we're in relationship with? And of course, this can happen every 24 hours or so. It's, no. Usually he's pretty cute. At the moment, he's mostly kind of annoying, So these waves and cycles of attraction come and go. So we need something that will sustain us beyond attraction. And of course, attitudes are important and ideas are important, but have you noticed people have a lot of ideas that they credit to love, and some of those ideas are terrible ideas. People think a lot of things about love and have a lot of beliefs related to love. Think of the beliefs that people have that they think reflect their love of God, or their love for God, or God's love for them. Some of those ideas and beliefs are terrible. We don't need to talk about that very much. Some of them are also wonderful, but in any case, they're in our head. So what we want to do is to, again, keep coming back to action. So here are some things we can do. If you want to love someone, here's your reminder list. Here's your to-do list for the week and for as long as we live. If you want to love someone, pay attention to them. If you want to love someone, pay attention to them. You just can't say you love someone and ignore them. Those two things don't go together. This is part of why attraction, of course, makes this so easy. Because when we're attracted to someone, we want to pay attention to them. It's practically the definition of attraction. So if it's romantic love we're talking about, when you first meet this person that you are attracted to romantically, everything about them is interesting to you. You know, how she eats her salad, how he says Massachusetts, whatever it might be, every least little thing is interesting. We have no trouble paying attention. After a while, it becomes the easiest thing in the world to give less than our full attention to people we love. So you know what love is. Love means giving full attention at least sometimes. I mean, let's face it. You're making let's be realistic. You're making dinner. You're fixing the soup, and a member of your family asks you a question. I don't think you necessarily have to turn your back on the soup to answer their question. I mean, please. So you and I don't always have to give everyone our 100% attention, but some of the time that would be good. And when they want it, that would be good. Maybe not every time they want it. But when they want it or when they need it, and we might say, oh, I do that. Pay attention. Practice a little mindfulness, just like meditation. And pay attention to how often it's the case when someone wants your attention, and I don't mean because they're saying, I want your attention. They just do. You are fully with what it is that's happening with them as compared to part of you is there and part of you is with the television, a part of you is there, a part of you is with what's going on in your head. So we can love someone by paying attention to them, and here's why it's hard. It means paying attention when you don't care what it is they're talking about. This happens a lot, particularly spouses, particularly long-term relationships. Oh, here he goes again. And it's like, I could afford to give this about 3% of my attention because I know exactly what he's saying. It means giving them your attention when you're tired. And considering how sleep-deprived a lot of Americans are, that's saying a lot. It means paying attention when you're angry with them. We've been working in the mindful and meditation group that I work with at Elizabethton, in Elizabethton at First Presbyterian of Elizabethton. I might say a kind of a soul sister church to all of you, and greetings from all of us. We've been working with mindfulness for about the last 8 weeks or so. And somebody said, you know, this mindfulness stuff with people, I don't know. There are times when I really don't want to pay attention to some of the people who are, want me to pay attention. I really don't want to do that. I said, yeah, I know. It's not necessarily easy, is it? So it means paying attention when with people you love, you are angry with them. And so if you want to love someone, pay attention to them. Go do that. If you want to love someone, understand them. You know, it's amazing, and we could probably look over here and see it over here, how common the human experience is of feeling misunderstood. People just don't understand. I'm trying so hard. Why can't they see that? Can't they see how hard I'm trying? Why, I didn't mean that. They just don't understand. I'm feeling sad, or I'm feeling embarrassed, or I'm feeling hurt, or I'm feeling neglected. How could he not get that? How could she not get that? I'm not feeling loved. How could they not understand that? It's just so common for people to feel misunderstood or not understood. If you love someone, you will really, really try to understand them. And here's the deal. Here's what understanding isn't. Understanding is not psychoanalyzing them. Understanding is not getting their number. Understanding is not figuring them out. That's something, perhaps. It is not understanding them. It is, let me put it this way. It is not the understanding that you seek for yourself. You don't mean the kind that says, oh, I get it. I get what makes Emily tick. I understand Emily. No. even if it's in a loving way, that's not what we want, is it? What we mean is, by understanding someone, is that we understand how they see themselves, which may be very different from the way we see them. We understand how they see others. We understand how they see life. Here's a really big one. We understand how they experience life. That is hard work to do, to arrive at that kind of understanding. It takes constant practice. And here's the other thing in my experience. We are not all equally good at arriving at that kind of understanding. Some people are very talented at really understanding other people. I'm not talking about feeling warmly. That's another talent, perhaps. I'm talking about understanding. Haven't you noticed that there are some people you can talk with and you know they understand, they get it. And there are other people you can talk with, whether in your family or in some other way, and you just sort of feel like you could have a conversation for hours, and somehow they still wouldn't understand. Something just isn't clicking there. It isn't that they disagree. They don't quite get it. There's a real talent to understanding other people, and that's part of what it means to love them. So that's work for us to do. It's very good work for us to do. And here's what makes it even trickier. Most people, this broad generalization, so take it with a grain of salt, most people do not say directly what they're thinking and feeling. They act on it and figure that we're going to get the message. People don't come out and say, some do, some of you do, some of the time, I'm feeling hurt. Instead, what you experience is anger. People don't come out and say, I'm feeling insecure. Instead, what you experience is something like nervousness or anxiety or some kind of crazy reaction that doesn't seem quite right. It's very common for people to not say or not think what they feel, especially if they believe that what they think or feel is unacceptable to you or to them. We instead believe, we humans, that other people should be able to figure that out. So the task before us is to really look, really listen, really tune in. What is it that they want to say but don't feel they can say directly? It's a great gift to give someone to listen in that way. If you want to love someone, this I guess would be number 3 if you're counting. If you want to love someone, help them feel beautiful. Help them feel valuable. Now again, we might perhaps immediately turn to romantic love, but it isn't just romantic love. Remember the beautiful Japanese poem. The image of the real woman standing before us, just a glimpse of her, and we're in love. It's not talking about physical attractiveness. It's talking about the kind of person she is, and it's just, wow, that's what it means to be a person. Can we help other people feel beautiful and valuable? I sometimes ask my friends at First Presbyterian, I say, well, you know, God is love. Everybody knows that. You know, somewhere in the Gospel of John, God is love. God is love. You know, God loves everyone. God loves you. So tell me, does God love you because of who you are or in spite of who you are? Does the fact that God loves you mostly say something about God or something about you or a little bit of both? And I mean, there is a school of Christianity with which some of you are well acquainted that says God basically loves you in spite of who you are, bless your heart, as we'd say here in the South. And the fact that God loves you says a lot more about God than it does about you, because doggone it, that's just the kind of person God is. God loves everyone. God even loves you. But of course, what we're called to do is to find each other beautiful, valuable, and lovable as we are. perhaps the reason, if we want to talk about God, perhaps the reason God loves us as we are is God sees us in a way that we don't necessarily see ourselves or each other. Thomas Merton, any of you in here heard of Thomas Merton? The wonderful Catholic monastic who lived up in Kentucky at the retreat center there, and began later in his life to have a close relationship, especially with Zen Buddhists, had an awakening. And I think it was Louisville, Kentucky. If you Google this, you'll find it. Where he was standing on a street corner, and it came to him, he just sort of saw people in what for him was a new way. And he said, I think if we saw each other as we truly are, as what we truly are, the big problem that we would have is that we would all constantly be falling down on the ground and worshiping each other. He said, we don't see each other as we are, and yet we do sometimes. We do sometimes. There are people in your life whom you love, and you love the total package. I have a dear friend who has come to be a good friend of my wife's, but when she first met him, she said to me, he's kind of strange. He's kind of screwy. And I said, yeah. And I said, and I love him. I love him. I didn't love him because I overlooked all of that. And I said, but he has these other nice points. It was just all part of the package. Did I love the fact that he was strange? No. It was just part of the package. You know what I mean, don't you? And so loving someone means loving the whole person. And is that possible? It is possible. How can you help them feel that? How can you help them feel that? What a gift. Number 4, we're almost done. If you want to love someone, let their stories be about them sometimes, not about you. We all do this, at least a little bit. Someone is telling us an important story about them, and they say, oh, yes, I remember when our children, the last of our children, went off to college. And before you know it, it has become a story about when we became an empty nester. Or, oh, yes, I know what you mean. When I had to go into the hospital for my gallbladder surgery, and I was so afraid. Now, sometimes those sympathetic responses are really helpful, but sometimes it's a great gift to give someone you love to let their story be a story about them. Practice it. Don't have to do this all the time. None of this is 100%. Some of the time would be really good. If you want to love someone, find out what their dream is and help them fulfill it. Find out what kind of person they want to be or become, and help them become that kind of person. Do you know? Could you know what's in their heart? What it is they really hope for? What it is they really dream for? What, as my teacher Goswami Kriyananda said many years ago, what would you do in your life if you were not afraid of failing at it? What would they do? What is their dream? How can you help them live into that dream? It's a wonderful thing. It's a thing to have a nice warm feeling about talking about helping other people fulfill their dreams, but it does get tricky. If you're a parent and your child says they want to drop out of college and move to Nashville and pursue their career in the country music business, you might be just a little nervous at first about helping them fulfill that dream. And by the way, no one is necessarily saying they should, because we're not talking about 100% of the time. We're talking about at least some of the time would be good. It is not an easy thing. This requires insight. It requires, again, as a Buddhist would say, skillfulness. Requires skillfulness. But are we willing to listen? Are we willing to learn? What does that person we love really seek? What is their unspoken dream? And what can we do to help them bring it to be? And I'll close with that, or very nearly close. So usually it seems to me in a lot of sermons, maybe not today, in a lot of talks, there's a point in the sermon that is what is the yes, but point. Sometimes there are a lot of these. Yes, but, yes, but, yes, but. And so, of course, the yes, but of a sermon about loving other people would probably be, well, you could think of several perhaps, would be yes, but what about me? What about me? I'm trying so hard already to do all of these things you say. I try to pay attention. I do try to understand, and so forth. But I don't know whether people are doing that for me. What about me? And it's true. You do deserve that too. But here's the thing about the spiritual path. The spiritual path is about walking on your own feet, walking that path. And what we on our paths can do, what you on yours can do, is to love. Is to love. It's the mark of a fully grown human being. It's the mark of a mature human being who says, this I will do. For it is the way to live. It is the way to love. This is how I will love. Thank you again for having me with you this morning. It's wonderful learning about your beautiful church.